Hello everyone! Welcome or welcome back to my channel and welcome to my studio. My name is Alex and this is episode 20 of Alex Likes to Knit. I have learned a new craft. I ran out of yarn. It's episode 20 and I've decided on a slightly different format and schedule for my Alex Likes to Knit episodes going forward. So if you've been here a while, I'm pretty irregular about posting these. It's every few weeks, and I've changed up the format a lot, like what I talk about and everything. It just kind of changes depending on what I'm working on, and I have decided that I want to try, at least for a few weeks, doing the same format and filming an update every single week. So this is going to be my first weekly update for Alex Likes to Knit, and I have quite a bit to share. It has been about 2 weeks since the last episode, but I'm planning to do another one next week, just so you know. Really the main difference that you're going to notice today is that I have actual notes. So I'm going to try to not look down at my notes too much, but I probably still will because I'm just getting used to this like new organized era of mine. So the first thing I want to talk about is my main finished object for the week, and that is what I'm wearing. I am super excited about how this top came out. This is the Stripey Turtle Tank by Emily Curtis, and I had just barely started this last episode. I had done the cast on and the ribbing at the bottom because it is a bottom up top. I had done maybe an inch of stockinette here. And I was so excited about this piece and liking it so much. I love the yarn, I loved working with it. I finished this up in less than 2 weeks. And now it is blocked and it's ready to wear. Some of the details for this make. The pattern is a Stripey Turtle Tank by Emily Curtis. I made a few modifications that I'll talk about. I did do this with a knit along with Megan from A Naughty Mess. She is hosting a knit along for Emily Curtis's summer patterns. I knit a size 4. My yarn is this Chusky yarn. It is a 60% superwash merino, 30% Pima cotton, and 10% linen, and it is 383 yards per 100 grams. So it's a little bit heavier than a fingering weight. This pattern does call for fingering weight yarn, but I have a really loose gauge, so I figured that'd be fine to go to, like, I think this would be considered maybe more of a sport weight. And this worked out so well for me. I was able to knit this with the recommended needle size, which is size US 3, and I got right on for stitch and row gauge, which never ever happens to me. So I think that's another reason why I was so excited about this pattern, because I knew that it was gonna fit and that felt really good. So the only other things was so you're knitting bottom up and it's a pretty cropped top, and so I wanted to do at least a little bit extra. I was kind of measuring and trying to decide, and I settled on doing 2.5 extra inches of body length. So my total body length from the bottom of the hem to here where my edging starts is 10.5 inches, and it's still a pretty cropped shirt on me, so I want to keep that in mind for other tops that I'm doing bottom up. I really could probably do 11 or more, and I think that this did grow just a little bit when I blocked it too, so I probably do have more than 10.5 inches now, and it's still a little bit cropped. The only other thing that I did different is whenever I picked up the armholes, so in the pattern you pick up the armholes and do an I-cord bind off. So there's an I-cord finish on the arms where there's twisted rib on the neck and the hem. But I saw someone's Ravelry project page where they had done twisted rib on the armholes, and I just really liked the way that looked, and it was a super easy modification to make. I picked up just like it said to in the pattern and then knit 6 rounds of twisted rib and then bound off in the same way I did the neckline, which was I just bound off in pattern. That's all I did. So it doesn't have a ton of stretch to the like edging, but it doesn't need it because the neck hole is wide enough that I don't have trouble getting it over my head. And then the arms, I don't feel it once I have it on. So this is a little funny how it kind of sits, like it doesn't feel like it's choking me or anything. I just think the way it looks, how it kind of has some like extra right here, is a little bit weird. But overall, I do really like the way it looks. I'm really, really happy with how it came out. I really like the color. Whenever I was picking out this yarn, I wasn't sure if I would do the stripes or just get a solid color, and I'm really glad that I just did the solid because I think this is just really wearable for me. It's just such an everyday thing. I have been wearing this all day and it feels normal. Like it doesn't feel like something weird or special, like, which I like whenever things feel like an everyday piece and it's not something that you're like thinking about a lot or you feel like you have to like put on a fashion show or something. I just like how kind of casual and basic this is. That just works like really well for me. So really, really happy with how this piece came out. And so since I have been knitting on this so hard for 2 weeks, I don't have a ton of other stuff to share, but I do have a bunch of little small finished objects, and then I'll talk about my works in progress. Back to the notes. One that I want to mention really quick is my birthday socks that I was making for my dad that I had shown last episode. So I'll put a little flashback clip from that. These are going to be for my dad. And I did finish those and sent them off to him, and I think that he really liked them. I was just doing those with leftover knit picks. The solid orange was leftover knit pick stroll in the color pumpkin, and then I used Ruby and Rose's 2023 Advent minis for the 3 contrast colors. And I think the way the striping and everything came out on that just was really, really fun. So just wanted to mention that I did get those finished and sent off. My last little finished things are 2 mini yarn cozies. Look how cute they are. So cute. These are 20-gram yarn cozies. So I don't have a 20-gram mini wound up into a cake right now, but this is the mini yarn cozy pattern by KnittyNatty. And she was hosting a cozy along, so like a cozy make along for yarn cozies, can cozies, as well as the e-reader cozy from Knit California. You could knit any of those and like submit for prizes and like be in the Discord and everything. So I showed 2 of the larger cozies last episode, and I also finished these 2. So I'm really proud of myself for doing 4 of them, and I entered them all. I'm usually so bad about actually entering my knits for prizes for knit-alongs, but I entered every single one, so I'm excited about that, and I'm happy to add these little guys to my collection. The yarn for these are both just leftover knit picks self-striping. This is an old colorway from the Felici, which has the thicker stripes, so you can't get these anymore, but this colorway is called Gone Fishin'. I also did this one in stockinette instead of the 3x1 rib, and I'm just gonna see if that works as well as the ribbed ones, because I found it annoying to do the ribbing on like this tiny of a thing. This is one of the new colorways, the Felicini colorways from Knit Picks. This colorway is called Bowling Alley. So yeah, I'd already made socks out of both of these, so I just figured that would be fun. Oh, another really small thing that I finished from last episode. I told you I have a bunch of tiny little FOs. The tiny little sweater that I had started. It is a tiny sweater. I finished it and it was kind of a mess. I don't think I even have a good finished picture of it. I did give it to my cousin and she was excited. She thought it was cute and I helped her get it onto one of her little toys. But if I make another tiny sweater, I will be using a pattern because this one was a mess and it was kind of difficult. One of the arms is like way longer than the other. If you're gonna make a tiny sweater, maybe just write down what you're doing or something, I don't know. It's fine. Anyway, those are the finished objects, and now I will move on to works in progress. So I really only have 2 active whips, and they are socks. Talk about one that I had going last week. So these are I'm calling them my Venus socks. And I'll put up a little flashback from last episode because these have changed. So this is still a fun sock. Like, that's cute. But I think overall it just reads more as a pink variegated sock. I had started the cuff with those different contrast color stripes and then had knitted the leg and then the gusset and had just kind of started the foot. But I was not loving how the stripes were working with this yarn. And on top of that, I finished this sock with the stripes and everything. I was like, this is okay. I started the second one and I didn't actually have enough of those colors to do the same contrast color stripe sequence on the top of the other sock. So I said, no, we're not having that. I took out the cuff of this, I cut it off, and then knit a new cuff from here up and did an Italian bind off at the top. So this has a new 1x1 ribbed cuff so that I could do the Italian bind off, and now it's done. And it's just a plain vanilla sock with this lovely yarn. And I have started the second sock just barely. I thought, I could start with a provisional cast on or just start with stockinette and take it out and, dropping things. I could start here, knit down, and then pick it up and knit the cuff again so that they would have the same amount of stretch in the bind off. I want so that they would match. But I thought, I don't actually care that much. So I just started with a regular long tail cast on and started doing the cuff like normal on this one. So my cast on edge and then my bind off edge here will be a little bit different, but I don't think it's a big deal. These are going to be a Christmas present for someone, and I don't think they're going to care. So this has like a little bit more of a wave to it than my cast on usually does. But whenever you put it on, you can't tell, and I'm just not really that worried about it. A few of the details about this project. The yarn is from Destination Yarns. This is the First Class MCN. It's a fingering weight, 80% superwash merino wool, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon. It's 400 yards per 100 grams. And this colorway is called Venus. So this is part of a Planets collection that they did, and I have a few others from that collection also, and I've been really wanting to use them. So this is the first skein in a while that I have wound up a fresh skein. First pair of socks in a while that I've wound up a fresh skein of yarn for. And it feels nice to use your nice yarn instead of using leftovers. I love using leftovers, but this just kind of felt like a treat, and I like that I do still have a bunch of nice new skeins in my stash, so I can try to work through scraps and leftovers and everything, but every now and then it's nice to get out a fresh skein and do a nice plain vanilla super soft pair of socks. For sizing on these, I did the size that I would do for myself, so I consider it like a women's medium-ish. I do have a loose gauge, so this is going to sound more like a small. But I cast on 56 stitches, knit 15 rounds for the cuff, 40 rounds for the leg, do a slip stitch, heel flap, and gusset with 18 slip stitch repeats in the heel flap. That gives me extra room around the instep. I do have like a higher instep and kind of a, I don't know, my heel and my instep is just wider. Okay, I just know it is. And so I do an extra deep heel, so this whole area has more room to stretch. And then I do my gusset here with increase every decrease every round. And then on this pair of socks, my gauge was ending up a little bit shorter in row gauge, and I did 60 rows before doing the toe. Sometimes I do 55, sometimes 60. So that is this pair, and I will surely have this finished by next week, finishing that other one, because that is my on-the-go plain vanilla sock project. My other work in progress, also a vanilla sock project. And I also have one sock done on this one. Yay! If you were here last episode, I talked about how I'm ready to make Christmas socks for everyone in my family, and this is one of the yarns that I had pulled out and talked about wanting to cast on. And I mean, this is exactly what I needed. Kind of face it towards the window so you get more light. It's kind of subtle, maybe not so subtle, but somewhat subtle Christmas colorway. It's a Felici color, so it's that older self-striping from Knit Picks that you can't get anymore, but this colorway is called Olive Juice. So this is all self-striping, and then I used a different color, a different yarn for my contrast color. So we've got Olive Juice, and then this is Barocco Vintage Sock. I'm not sure what the colorway is called or anything, but it's just in a dark red, kind of heathered kind of color. And I think it kind of makes the red pop and makes it more Christmassy. So that's really cute. And then this one is a Christmas present for someone also. So this is what I do for like men's size feet, especially like smallish, not a super huge footed person. But I cast on 60 stitches. I did 20 rounds for the cuff. And then I do my length, whenever I'm doing self-striping, do it based on the stripes and what works for the stripe pattern instead of counting the rounds. So I did until this first color came back again. An estimation of the rounds to about 55, 56 rounds for the leg. A slip stitch heel flap and gusset with 18 slip stitch repeats, a gusset where I decrease every round, and then I again follow the stripe pattern to where it makes sense to stop and start the toe. And I did make these a little bit longer than what I would normally make for myself, so this one has about 65 rounds in the foot. So I have this one done, of course, and then I have started on my second sock. So my plan for these, since they're both just plain vanilla socks, these are also the only knitting works in progress that I have right now. I'm planning to get both of them done pretty quickly. I think this pink I will work on first for the most part, and then switch over to this. I would like to cast on a textured or maybe even colorwork sock at some point soon. I finished this top, so that was what was taking more of my attention, was kind of planning and everything for that. And whenever I was doing the front and back and doing the armholes and everything, like that was taking my attention. But making vanilla socks is a very, it just comes naturally to me. I have the pattern like memorized and everything, so I have been kind of wanting something complicated again, but I do not want to buy yarn and start another garment project right now. So I'm thinking about doing some textured socks that I kind of talked about with the Christmassy yarn that I had last time. We'll see, maybe I'll do scrappy socks or something like that next. One other thing I wanted to mention about whips is the whips that I have not worked on really and will not be showing this week, which are my Tulsa tee, the purple ribbed hat, and my granny square blanket. So if you're wondering about those, don't wonder about them, they look the same. Yeah, so that is all of the knitting works in progress, but I do have one more thing that I want to share with you. I have learned a new craft, a quilting technique, quilt piecing technique called English paper piecing. This is an English paper pieced English paper pieced quilt block that I'm working on. I'll give you a little bit of a close-up. This has been so much fun to work on, and this has been taking a lot of that more focused energy that I haven't been putting into knitting as much the last few weeks. So if you're not familiar with English paper piecing, it is a quilting technique where you cut all of your little pieces out individually and you wrap them around little pieces of paper and then hand stitch them all together. So this is a completely hand stitched quilt block. And I came across this method because Crazy Sock Lady, who is a knitting podcaster and sock designer, has been English paper piecing and talking about how the hand sewing is very relaxing to her, even though she doesn't like machine sewing. And I've been looking into more other crafts for my like fine art practice to do like textile pieces and just make things that are more experimental and bring back like old ways of working, like traditional fiber arts is what I'm trying to kind of explore and like expose in my art. So I've been wanting to get into some different crafts and, you know, see what I can make and what kind of meaning I can have, things like that for my art practice. So I made like a little sample. This was the first thing that I English paper pieced, little hexy flower. Crazy Sock Lady is doing like a giant hexy quilt top. So I figured I would try this first because I didn't need to buy a pattern. I just printed off some hexagons and got started with these, and I'm glad that I did this first because I struggled with some of the steps doing this one, and then I kind of figured it out by the time I was finishing this. So then starting this with this centerpiece, having all these come together in the middle, it's a little wonky, but it's not as crazy as like the back of this is. So if you're curious about English paper piecing, don't ask me about it because I am very much a beginner, but there's a lot of information about it on YouTube if you have scrap quilting cotton, if you are interested in hand sewing, hand quilting. Yeah, it's really meditative, it's really interesting, and there's a lot of different intricate shapes and things you can get with it that are harder to get with machine piecing. I don't think I could have made this machine piecing it. If I did, it wouldn't have been this neat and nice. So yeah, I'm really happy with this and wanted to show it off a little bit. So I'm thinking about this being something that you would just hang on the wall and admire instead of making it like a pillowcase or something. So that is kind of some of what's going on in my art life. And yeah, maybe I should hopefully have this square done by next week. I'm trying to work on it just a little bit every day and make some progress on it because I have some other ideas for other quilted pieces that I want to work on soon. So I also don't want to like overwhelm myself with like new ideas and new materials and everything and like get stuck and not finish things. So this is my only quilty project right now, but I have an idea for another one when this is done. Oh, another thing is I do plan on making like a full video about the fiber like artwork that I'm doing. So if that's something that you're interested in, I'll probably talk about it more in another video. Be on the lookout for that because I think in the next few weeks I'm planning to talk about it more in depth and do more of a process video for that work. And then I will leave you with a small art update. Like I have said before, I'm an artist, I'm a painter and fiber artist. I have, for my like art practice right now, what I kind of have going on, I'm working on this really large painting behind me. It's almost done, it's really close to being done. and I'm getting ready for a few in-person events in June. Today is May 28th, and I have my first event's gonna be June 7th, first event in a little while. So I'm working on small pieces to bring to that, as well as just having all my prints and everything ready. And if you are interested in updates on my paintings, prints, just like my art and like business in general, go to my website, alexhayeschapple.com, and sign up for my newsletter. You can also follow me on Instagram. I'm alexhayeschapple on Instagram. But if you really want to get those updates whenever something exciting is happening, go sign up for my newsletter, because then it will go, the information will go straight to your email. And I only send a newsletter once a month because I don't really have time to do it more than that. Anything else? I think that's it. That's all that I have in my notes. I think this was a good one. A little bit quicker, a little bit more organized, and I really enjoyed it. So that is all I have for you today. I wanted to say thank you so much to everyone who has been watching my videos. I really, really appreciate it, and I can feel more connection with the people who are watching, and I'm just feeling really excited about it and proud of what I'm putting out. So thank you so much for being here. If you get a chance, leave me a comment, or at least like this video if you've watched this much of it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.